What's up, guys? Welcome to Critique the Critics, the show where we make fun of movie critics. Today we're talking about the new movie Shazam. We have one critic's review. We have a feeling it's not going to go very well because honestly, they never do. So we're going to read this guy's review line for line, pick it apart, and just make fun of it. But before we get started, if it's your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button and the little bell right next to it. That way you can get notified every single time we have a new video out. Now let's take a look at Oliver Jones' review of Shazam. It's almost an impressive accomplishment to make a film about a ne'er-do-well kid who is chosen by an ancient wizard, Djimon Hounsou in Dumbledore Drag. Dumbledore Drag? Wouldn't Dumbledore Drag have meant that the wizard was now female? Because Dumbledore's male? Unless I'm mistaken, that wizard in Shazam was all man. Not that I want to label, you could be right. I don't know how he identifies. To become a godlike super being and have it come out so utterly bereft of wonder. Shazam is as blandly presentational as a market research PowerPoint. I'm gonna tell you right now that if you do that movie as a PowerPoint, you are selling whatever the hell you're trying to sell. Because that you just made the most amazing PowerPoint presentation ever. It's like, and in this next slide, magic. Fucking magic. You like follow up one of your coworkers and you're like, f***ing graphs. That's cute. The film employs an uneven tone with herky-jerky shifts from generic and personality-free, family-friendly chuckles to glass-smashing action sequences that are too violent for a movie meant to skew younger than a typical action comedy. It's PG-13. This is a frustration that I have. When people go into a PG-13 movie with their 6-year-old kid and they're like, well, it was a little violent for them. Yeah, because it's parental guidance suggested for anyone under 13 because you're supposed to go, should my kids see this? It's as simple as that. There's literally entire websites dedicated to telling you whether or not you should let your kids see something. You can even find out if there's magic in it because your religion doesn't allow magic. That's an option, you know? If you don't want wizards in drag to be seen by your children, you can find that out and make sure it doesn't happen. The film begins with a pair of flashbacks to traumatic moments of childhood neglect and abuse. It's the kind of stuff meant to add richness and complexity to their origin stories. But Shazam has no interest in giving its characters the kind of psychological depth that would benefit from this kind of shading. How dark did you want this thing? The whole like window scene was a little too violent for children, but then the rest of the stuff was geared perfectly for children. So which direction do you want this to go? I feel like it was just enough to give someone an idea of like what people went through growing up and what their motivations would be to be who they were. That's it. If they delved in any more, you don't have Shazam the superhero anymore. You have like Jacob's Ladder. I don't know. You have you just end up with this deeply psychological thing instead. Not where they were headed. It's called Shazam. It's barely committed to giving them personalities. As a result, what are you talking about? If anything, the personalities were over the top and slightly exaggerated because of its gearing toward kids because the movie's called Shazam! As a result, these scenes feel like disjointed pieces of a film that never seems to fit itself together, except for the way that the plot moves seamlessly from one spot to another, having a first, second, and third act as most movies do, and moved in actually what I would say a pretty conventional sense. It was almost to the point of being obvious. Part of the problem is the central character of Billy Batson. He is played as a child by Asher Angel and as an adult-sized superhero by a bulked-up Zachary Levi, who is forced to wear an unfortunate costume that makes him look like a mascot for an off-brand hot dog company. You mean Shazam's costume? Cause it's Shazam's costume. That's his costume. Like, what did you want them to do? Like make a completely different costume like they did for the 2000 X-Men movie? Because they were so scared of yellow spandex? You shouldn't be scared of that shit. Women don't even wear pants now, they just wear tights. Let it all be free. He can wear his hot dog tights if he wants to, because it's his costume. Anything yellow and red makes me think of hot dogs. That's just how it goes. Yeah. Like, if you were killing Pikachu in front of me, wow, I would instantly think of hot dogs.
Wow.
No? Billy is meant to be a Mark Twain type rascal who has a pure heart despite his penchant for escaping foster homes without warning and committing occasional misdemeanors. Yeah, pretty simple. It's not like a super in-depth, deep psychological thing, but just enough to know his motivation. How do we know he's really a good kid? Because we're told this is so repeatedly, not because it is demonstrated. Yeah, that's literally part of the plot, is the fact that like we have an understanding that underneath the facade, he's a good kid. And then we get to see it. You ever seen a movie where like people are like, wow, he's really good at basketball, but you never really see him like do the amazing thing. And then by the end of the movie, you're like, oh, he is good at basketball. Or like Rudy, you know what I mean? Like at the end is when you see the change. Otherwise it's just blatant and shoved in your face like a hot dog being shoved in your mouth. Ayo! Ayo! More fatally, Levi is given so little to work with when he is meant to play Billy as a grown man, Freaky Friday style. What do you mean so little to work with? They focused on him being in the man's body for the majority of the film. Like, if not enough to work with is the majority of the film in a lot of different circumstances, then I don't know what words are or how they work. Instead, the talented The Marvelous Ms. Maisel co-star does generic kid responses, which, more often than not, comes across as mugging for the camera. Yeah. See, the problem is you're saying that like it's an insult. Actually, it was played off exactly how they intended. This was supposed to be campy superhero fun. They did that entirely intentionally. There were so many things in this movie that made that clear. And if you walked away from this movie not realizing that was clear, then you walked in this movie with the intention of seeing Marvel and what you've seen before from Marvel, or the dark side of DC, or whatever superhero style movie you had seen before that doesn't do this. This has all the camp and charm and fun of the Shazam comic. Seriously underwritten characters and hammy acting haunt almost every aspect of the film. By the end, Shazam feels like a corporate product that's so thirsty for approval from all quadrants that it never ends up figuring out what it is. It knows exactly what it is from the gate, and you just described it, except it's not haunting it, it's literally carrying it. The whole point of this movie is to be fun and campy. In fact, it's kind of a superhero movie we've never seen before because we try to make everything so dark and meaningful and so heavy. This is like literally the lightest superhero movie we've ever seen. And the fact of the matter is, you came in with the wrong expectation and you walked out disappointed when you shouldn't have. And I don't even know how you expected the wrong thing. It really doesn't make any sense to me that you expected the wrong thing. It's like you walked into an AA meeting and was like, where's all the booze? Like that's not how it works. And if it is, I'll be right back. Well, I have a question for you. Did you like the campiness and the fun of Shazam, or do you think all of our superhero movies have to be all dark and crap like this person apparently? Put it down in the comments. We'd love to hear from you. Also, if it's your first time here, make sure you hit the subscribe button, and we do record these shows live on Twitch. You can find a link down in the description. Make sure you click it and find all the stuff that we do live so we can hang out with you real soon. And until we see you next time, geek out and game on.